Okay, so now we want to talk about some of the hazards that are caused by deserts. So this process here of desertification is where land eventually turns into a desert. And so an extreme case of this was the Dust Bowl, which occurred between 1930 and 1940 in North America. And you can see the states of the United States that were affected by the Dust Bowl. So what caused the expansion of a desert in the middle of the United States? So first of all, one of the causes was the removal of vegetation. So we said that vegetation has root systems. That root system helps to hold the soil in place. So back in the 1930s, farmers were going in and they were tearing up the soil in order to plant their crops. And so once that root system was destroyed, then it made it easier for that soil to be lifted up into the air because of the wind. Okay, then the next thing that happened is a prolonged drought. So a prolonged drought is going to cause, again, plants to die, so then they're not going to have that root system anymore. It's also going to cause the soil to have less water in it. And we found that soil that has water in it can hold together better than dry soil. So during this period of time, there was a drought in the central part of the United States. Okay, then add to that wind. So as wind systems were blowing across the plains region, it started to pick up this dust and raise it up into the air to make these colossal dust storms. And so that picture there shows you how gigantic these dust storms get. Now, today we still have dust storms of that magnitude, but they normally occur in Australia. So if you want to see an example of one of those, then go to the internet and just type in Australian dust storm. So what can we do to reduce the spread of deserts? Okay, some of the stuff we really can't do a whole lot about. So in some areas of the world, it is naturally dry and it is naturally windy. Now what we can do, however, is do a better job of farming so that it doesn't break up the soil as much. It doesn't destroy that vegetation. So some ways of reducing the spread of deserts would be in our farming practices. So that instead of, let's say that this is your area that you want to farm, so instead of breaking up all of this material, what you can do is you can leave some edges where the root system is still intact. So break this so you can still farm this area in here, and this area in here, and this area in here, but now let's say as the wind is blowing, the wind is going to be interrupted by these patches of vegetation that's still holding down the soil, and it's act like a wind break. So that would be one way of keeping things from turning into a desert. Another way is instead of having a plow that makes furrows like this and it completely destroys the soil as it's breaking it up, instead a new method of farming is that you make holes in the ground as the tractor goes across it, and then you put an individual plant in each of those holes. So then that means that all of this surrounding area is still held together, and it's going to be less likely to blow away in a windstorm. Okay, so that pretty much concludes it. So in our next video, we will do our lesson quiz over this material.